Yo, 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 baby pop. Hey, y'all. It's your favorite perky barista, Juanita Michelle, and we're here at Third Perk Coffee House and Wine Bar in beautiful downtown Dayton.
Hot Dayton.
It is hot. It's July, and I think on this day, we could fry an egg at the corner of 3rd and St. Clair. It's hot, y'all. It's hot.
It's hot.
And, okay, so let me tell y'all how excited I am today. This woman right here, Jenell Ross, she is a part of a legacy, okay? I remember in 1978 when me and my daddy and my mama went out to Bob Ross Buick and got a car, okay? So I am so happy to have her here. She is a legacy, and we'll let her share her story. But before we do that, we want to remind you why we're here. The Broken Entrepreneur podcast was created not to celebrate brokenness, but to acknowledge that in order to bring about change, we have to acknowledge that sometimes things are broken. I'm discussing with other successful entrepreneurs their challenges and how they overcame their challenges. And I understand that sometimes as an entrepreneur, you feel like it's just happening to you. It's not happening to anyone else. But we see in a lot of these podcasts, a lot of the stories, that we're not alone. So, Jenell, how are you today?
I am great, Juanita. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no. It is truly my pleasure. So, we are now in our 2nd season.
Yes.
And again, so grateful that you took time out to be here with us today. And if you could just share with my audience who you are and what makes you an entrepreneur.
Oh, wow. Well, good afternoon or evening or morning, everyone. My name is Jenell Ross, and I'm the president of the Bob Ross Auto Group in Centerville, Ohio. We represent Buick, GMC, and Mercedes-Benz. My father started our company in 1974 in Richmond, Indiana, and next year will be a banner of a year because it'll be our 50th anniversary being in business. Unfortunately, my dad passed at an early age of 62, and that's when I took over the day-to-day operation of our of our business, and that was in 1997.
Wow.
So 26 years ago. At that point, my mother became president. So not only did I have the opportunity to work side by side with my dad, but also had the opportunity to work side by side with my mother as well.
Yes.
Until her passing, her untimely passing from breast cancer in 2010.
Wow. Your mom has such a legacy. Like, you have really honored her since her passing. And can you tell us a little bit about how you honor your mom and what you guys do?
Sure. Like I said, my mother did pass with breast cancer. She endured a little less than an 8-year battle. A lot of people were very surprised of her passing because many people didn't even know that she had gone through breast cancer once, let alone recurrence 2 additional times. And that's just kind of the person that my mother was. She just always kept moving, always kept going and pushing forward. And she was actually even on the American Cancer Society's board. They didn't even know that she had breast cancer. So it was just kind of, that's just how she was.
Okay.
But my goddaughters came up with Pink Ribbon Driven, and we are in the automobile business, so that we are driven to find a cure for the pink ribbon. So that is our trademark. That's a part of the Norma J. Ross Memorial Foundation.
Okay.
And so my mother's first love and her career was elementary education with Dayton Public Schools for a few decades. And so we are able to tie in the educational portion as well as advocacy, awareness, and assistance on breast health.
Okay.
And combine those two together to hopefully try to put an end to this unfortunate disease. And if we can't do that, then we need to at least bring about greater awareness and education in order to make sure we're taking care of ourselves and our tatas.
Right. And I have to say thank you for the service you provide, because as an entrepreneur, many times entrepreneurs don't have adequate health insurance.
Correct.
So in 2021, I actually received a mammogram through your foundation. So it was very helpful as I was in a period just entrepreneuring and
Right.
no health care.
Right.
But
Worried about everyone else but yourself.
yes,
Which you can't do.
I cannot. But thanks to your foundation, I was able to have that checkup.
And that's really where I brought Sybil Martin on as our executive director in 2019. And that's really our focus has, and with Sybil's help, really to recognize and hone in on the need of focusing on the preventative. And not that there's not a lot of great organizations, and including the hospitals and oncology groups in our community, but no one was really focusing on the preventative. Everyone was focused on once you have been diagnosed. And obviously we would like to lessen the diagnosis if there's more awareness and education of the need to get the mammogram.
Yes.
So, excuse me, that's where, not knowing we were going into COVID, and which could lead to even more, which led to more and more people having inconsistency with their own insurance and coverage.
Yes.
We were able to help provide that service. And so that's something that we're still really honing in on, is that preventative piece as we continue today.
Okay.
Not that we do not help those that are in their journey.
Right.
But I mean, definitely would never not help someone along their journey, but really just trying to continue to raise the level of awareness and education in our community.
Well, so I cannot not mention some of the educational programming that you've had here at the coffee house.
Yes.
And when I tell you what I learned through that programming about the testing that is available if you have a direct link to someone who's battled with breast cancer, or some of the things that insurance companies can provide, just extra measures that we did not know about.
And that's one thing, you know, that we all need to do a better job of, is the advocacy piece of really going to any doctor appointment. You don't need to go by yourself. I mean, so you have that advocate. Even if it's a routine checkup, you may miss something that your physician or the physician's assistant or nurse is saying to you, because you're focused on maybe that last thing.
Absolutely.
And you have that other set of ears and eyes there with you. And just, you know, let's take that up a notch of, you know, a potential need to come back for another exam and that heightened anxiety, or the need to go through a biopsy, and just, you know, the stress that can put on if you're enduring that on your own.
Yes.
And it's always good to have an advocate. And if for some reason someone doesn't, we can help provide that advocacy for you.
Oh, wow.
Based upon our network and who we've worked with and continue to work with, because we don't want anyone to go through this process alone.
Oh, that's amazing. That is truly amazing. And yes, again, thank you.
And
for
very
that
much
service.
needed. Very much needed.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. My daughter has things that come up, and it's like, I'm gonna go to the doctor with you. You know, because it's
Right.
like, because you're still my kid,
Correct.
and what you're saying doesn't sound right.
Right.
So mommy's coming to the doctor.
Well, and you know, it can happen, not a child. I mean, it just, like I said, you can be focused on something else and not hearing or listening or understanding.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes we may not want to say that we don't know or don't understand. Mm-hmm. But at least if someone else is there that you trust and have confidence in, maybe that person, you know, that healthcare professional leaves the room, but for me to say, okay, well, Anita, I really didn't know. Do you know what they're talking about?
Right.
Just so you have that level of comfort. And,
Absolutely.
And that is needed on all levels.
Yeah. Or did you hear them say so and so?
Correct.
And because you're in the zone.
In a zone.
You didn't hear it.
Right.
So,
Right.
wow. So, many of the entrepreneurs that we have on the podcast, they have created something. They started the journey. It was their vision. It was their dream. How is it operating, managing your father's dream and growing it, because since your father's passing, and even since your mom's passing, all of the things that you've been able to do, are quite amazing. How is
Thank
it
you.
handling someone else's dream?
It's very overwhelming. My dad experienced many, many firsts in the auto industry as, an African American male. He did not have a college education, just a high school education. So, he wasn't deemed the person to be the successful businessman that he was and he became. So, when he passed, he had been in business 23 years. Like I said, he had a lot of history and firsts. I mean, he was in the first General Motors dealer development class, where they would bring in aspiring African American males who were interested in business and teach them how to run an auto dealership. So he was in the very first class, and he was the very first graduate to be placed in a dealership that he was able to purchase.
Okay.
And that dealership was actually in Richmond, Indiana, where my parents are from, about 45 minutes west of here. Mm-hmm. And so my parents had been living here. So they met high school, moved here. The opportunity came back in Richmond. And the ironic thing is that's where my dad worked in high school as a lot attendant. So he went back and purchased the dealership from the gentleman that he had worked for in high school.
Wow.
So, and that's something that, that's a story in itself.
Yes, it is.
In terms of the importance and what that, that significance, I guess you could say, of what that means. So then he had the opportunity to purchase where we are today, 5 years later, and next year it'll be 45 years here, but 50 total. Okay. So those are not shoes to fill; they are major boots to fill, and I do not feel that I have filled them.
Really?
No, because of just, there's no way to really know all the obstacles that he endured as a black man.
I understand.
Being, he was the first black GM dealer in Ohio, Indiana, and West Virginia. He was the first international harvester, which was a large trucking franchise back in the day, and he was the first African American Mercedes-Benz dealer in the world, you might as well say. So no, I don't think those are things that I have filled necessarily, but just continuing to try to fill those boots.
Wow. So while a foundation, a car dealership, how do you, or what do you do for yourself as you are maintaining all of this?
I love to play golf. I love to swim. That is my refuge.
Okay.
Morning and evening. I love to travel. I enjoy my friends and family immensely. And those are the things that help get me through.
Okay. Where was your last destination? Where was your last place that you traveled?
Probably earlier this month. Went to Detroit for the Rocket Mortgage golf tournament to watch Ricky Fowler win. Okay. And had a great time.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I am one of those people who I want to be a golfer. Okay. So
you can be a golfer.
Exactly. So I, one of my early teaching positions, I worked at Mount Street Academies, and the superintendent was an avid golfer. She lived on a golf course, and many times when we would have a professional development, it would be at her house, followed by a round of golf. Okay. So I had a few opportunities to golf with that group, and just a few opportunities here and there, but I'm really looking forward to getting into a league and really developing this skill, because I feel like inside of me, y'all,
it's there.
An athlete.
Well, there's a lot of different ways you can go about it.
Okay.
The Madden Women's Association is very vibrant and engaging and always looking for new members. There's also the LPGA Amateur League, and both Madden and the LPGA have opportunities for beginners as well as moving on up the ranks in terms of skill level. And they do a lot of different things. They may do a clinic, it may be a 9-hole league, could be an 18-hole league,
Okay.
could be instruction. So there's just a lot of different ways that you can get involved. And that is fun because it's the opportunity to be around women, and specifically with Madden women, even though both groups are diverse, it's nice to have the opportunity to play with African American women as well.
Oh, that's cool. Now, I have heard so many times that so much business is done on the golf course.
It can. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, how many cars are we selling on the golf course?
It just depends. It just depends. You know, it's been very rewarding for me, both professionally and personally. It's always fun to see a white male look on his face when he sees me approach, if I'm going to be a part of his team and he doesn't know me.
Okay.
Because it's like, oh gosh, here comes a woman, African American woman, and then I'm left-handed. So it's like I got like 3 strikes against me before I even, take a swing. But then at the end of the day, they realize that I can play,
Okay.
and provide value to our team and the event, and that I can hold a business conversation as well.
Yes.
And some of those are friends that are people who've become friends, or maybe not, because we've educated them along the way to realize that I don't have to look like you to do what you do.
So I share a similar experience because I'm a mathematics teacher. So as I was going through my mathematics courses, the higher levels that I got to, the less opportunity that not just women, but anyone of color.
Right. Okay.
Well, no, there were a lot of foreign gentlemen, but it was always a male-dominated class. And when it came down to study groups, they're like, it's like, can I join your group? And they just kind of give you this blank stare.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of talking to you. It's just me. It's just you.
Hello.
But, and sometimes then they find value because they understand that I'm here for a reason.
Right.
I'm here learning this information as you, and I've got some talents that I can lend to the group. So I do understand that piece. So I'm happy that they get to know you. And
it's unfortunate. The industry that I'm in, it's still not diverse.
Okay.
I can't even say very diverse. Even though there are a lot of women in our industry, in automotive, there's not a lot of women dealership owners. So there's close to 18,000 new car franchise dealers in our country.
Okay.
There's about 250, 260 women that own automobile dealerships. There's about 1,000, 1,100 minorities, all minorities.
Okay.
But there's only 4 African American women.
Wow. Out of 18,000.
Out of 18,000.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So it's still, when I walk in the room, it's, they think that I may work for General Motors or Mercedes-Benz, which there's nothing wrong with that, or the travel company who set up the meeting.
Or just someone's assistant.
Correct. So they have a hard time sometimes figuring out, like, well, what time's the meeting start? I'm like, I don't know. Well, where do we need to go? I don't know. Do you know where the restroom is? I said, no, I need it too. I'm like, how am I supposed to know where? So that, again, goes back to my mother and the education.
Okay.
So let me educate them on that I don't have to look like you to be you.
Exactly. 4 women out of 18,000. The statistics is going to be here because we want to know what percentage that represents.
A minuscule.
It's itty bitty.
Yes.
It's like a dust particle. It's like, oh, whoa, wow. That's mind-blowing by itself. Wow. 4 out of 18,000. Okay. Anyway, that's amazing to me.
It's not a good statistic. And that's something that obviously I definitely don't like. I know there's several that are in the works, which I'm
Okay.
proud of. And unfortunately, I'm the only second generation African American female dealer in the country. There are several males, African American males, but there are some African American females that are in process of becoming dealership owners.
Okay.
So, and naturally, I welcome that. But that's where I like to take the time when schools call. It could be elementary, middle, high school, college, what have you, women's organizations, if they want to come in and shadow or take, just to get more information about who and what we are. They may not
Okay.
want to be, the next dealership owner, but for them to understand that there is a lot of opportunity in the auto industry.
Yes.
And not necessarily just on the corporate side, but on the retail side of what we represent. And just, explain that we need, there's architects that are needed to design the vehicles, that design the buildings that we're sitting in.
Yes.
We need marketers to help, brand ourselves in terms of the products that we're representing. That we need accountants, CPAs, someone who's, loves numbers. They may never, I have my office staff, they never even need to see, they don't see a car unless they want to go look.
Okay.
Because they're concentrating on the numbers and making everything click and work.
Right.
And fall into place. But for those that want to be that technician or salesperson or manager, we now need product specialists so that, with all the technology that's now coming in the vehicles, we have to have technology,
Oh my goodness.
diagnostic technicians that can understand things a lot differently than turning wrenches. Because it's,
It's
the
very
technicians
different.
have to be very well equipped to work with computers and understanding and diagnosing what's happening. So it's a lot different and more complex than it used to be.
Yes.
And so that level of skill set has changed dramatically of a mechanic of old to a technician, today, and what their responsibilities are.
And I'm sure even your sales staff has
Yes.
to be different because those folks who are shopping, they're educated. We've got an abundance of information.
Too much
Too
on the
much.
internet, which isn't always correct.
Too much. And then you have all of the opinions of everyone. This car drives this way. This car drives that way. My sister just bought a Mercedes. And she said, this car is really good for, someone who's a little elderly. I'm talking about you. So I am, I call myself a only child with siblings. So my siblings were teenagers when I was born.
Okay.
So my siblings are approaching 70.
You had another set of parents.
I have another set of parents. So she is very comfortable in this car that she's received. And, and she's like, and then the guy got in and he programmed everything. Because your cars, they almost drive themselves.
They do.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
I was able to purchase a GMC a couple years ago. And, I'm driving and it just kind of, and it's like, hey.
Brings you back.
It brings you back. So it's like, I love that car. But, it's just amazing, again, the technology and all of the opportunities that are available.
There's a lot.
Do you
There's more technology on vehicles today than the first spaceship that went up.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. It's just insane the amount of technology that's in the vehicles today.
wow. How do you, as the dealer, how in touch do you need to stay with what's going on in the vehicles?
Oh, my goodness. I used to be a really good delivery. I could deliver a vehicle, so we have family and friends like in Indianapolis, Detroit. So I'd jump in the car and say, hey, I'll deliver your car to you. We'll come over for the weekend, bring your trade back, go through the whole car. You do not want me anywhere around that today because it is just absolutely way too much.
Oh,
if I
my
can just get from
goodness.
A to B, I'm good.
Okay.
I tell everyone who comes in that you're going to school.
Okay.
And they're looking at me like, well, no, I already have one, or no, I have this. I'm really good with computers. And I'm like, okay.
Okay.
And then it happened last night. Lady was like, wow, you weren't lying. I did go to school. And I said,
Yeah.
just be ready
Yes.
and you'll be back.
Yes.
And she was like, oh, no, I won't. I was like, oh, yeah, you'll be back.
What did she purchase a Mercedes?
She did, but the same thing happens with Buick and GMC. There's just a lot of technology that
Okay.
is in the vehicle. So it's been dictated by what the manufacturers feel the customer or the consumers want.
Okay.
But it's very interesting. We're getting a lot of responses and feedback that it's just way too much. And some of them, it's scaring some people away
Okay.
based upon that level of technology that's in the vehicles.
Wow. I remember when my parents bought this car in the late 70s that it was cruise control. And that was
That would've been a
huge thing. Cruise control was like the end all to be all. And I remember when I started really leaning into using my cruise control because I have a lead foot. So I would use cruise control to avoid tickets.
Correct.
Because I was,
That's the best thing
oh my goodness.
about cruise control. But see, now
Absolutely.
well, I shouldn't say this, but now cruise control, you can drive hands-free and it'll still bring you back in the lane.
Oh,
So
I like it.
I
like
do
it
like
a
it.
lot.
Yes, I do
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
But
So
I don't want to get in trouble with the law.
don't get in trouble.
But it's a part of the car.
And it's like, so
I didn't make it.
So why
I just
wouldn't
got to use it. Right. Got to use it.
Why wouldn't you? So we've been operating our coffee house here for 8 years. In June, we celebrated 8 years.
Yay.
I know.
Wow, where'd the time go?
It's amazing because when we started in 2015, we used to celebrate every 6 months because I had a brick and mortar business and it was open for 6 months and then it just kind of faded away. So every 6 months for about 3 years, it's like, hey, I'm still here. And people were so confused with my actual anniversary date because every 6 months I'm having a party. Everybody knows I will find an excuse to have a party.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. We
Yes.
got to live life.
Yes. So to think that now we're really approaching a 10-year is just,
That's exciting.
it is so exciting. So exciting. And to be such a cool part of the community.
Right. I mean, because with everything that's happening, downtown, it's just,
Yes.
and especially on your block, you have so much that's happened that wasn't here 2-3 years ago.
It wasn't here.
Right.
So I'm very thankful for just having just this opportunity and just the love of Dayton and the Flies.
Summer.
It's getting me. The love of Dayton. How do you feel like Dayton has really embraced you as being such an established business owner and for everything that you do for the community? Because again, I'm thankful for the educational piece, the services, and I know how I feel hugged by the community. So you've got to feel it in some way.
Oh, very much so. Dayton, I think Dayton as a whole in terms of surrounding communities, because since we are in Centerville, but Dayton is obviously extremely important to the success of our business. And I think the whole Miami Valley region, I think really once we went through the recession in like 08 and 09, of really figuring out how we were going to maintain as a community. The overall community of Dayton is, in my opinion, has changed a lot, especially after the recession of 08 and 09, where we had to learn to be nimble and not depend on automotive manufacturing, which had been such a foothold in our industry for many, many decades, along with other manufacturing sites. See where we are today with IT, higher education, a lot of emphasis on healthcare, but Right Pat as a staple.
Yes.
We have really seen what the grit of Dayton can do when times get tough, because there has been a lot of positivity that's come out, but we still have a lot of work that needs to be done as a region. And, that's where it takes everyone working together to try to make that happen. We still have areas that aren't as flourishing as others, but then we're seeing, who would have thought the hotel, the AC Hotel now downtown Dayton and overlooking the Dragon Stadium would bring about, people from all sectors coming to that facility to dine and be social. So, there's a lot of good in Dayton. I mean, it's always been very good to our family. Something my mother always said, by my parents being from Richmond, is that we've always lived in 3 communities, Richmond, Dayton, and Centerville. And it's just, kind of the way that it's always been for us. And because we can still utilize the foothold of family from Indiana and friendships and networking from that perspective, as well as what my parents established once they moved here and got married. And so that, we've been back and forth over that Indiana-Ohio line for the last, 50 plus years. So,
wow.
I mean, Dayton's a great place to live, work, and play. We can get to places quick.
Very.
3 hours to Detroit, maybe that's a little heavier foot. 2 hours to Indy, Columbus, a quick plane ride. But, there's a lot that the region has to offer, and I think that's where, we need to continue to be focused on it, because obviously for me, the more people that live in the community, the more opportunity I have to make them a part of our family.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, one of the benefits for us having you here is that I get to ask you about a certain challenge that you may have faced, and you get to tell us how you were able to overcome that challenge. So can you share with us with something that, a mountain that you busted through?
Well, I would say I'm still climbing those mountains.
Okay.
I guess the biggest thing for me is that I was talking to a friend of my dad's not too long ago, and he was like, "Do you realize you've been a car dealer longer than your dad?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He was like, "Well, he passed and he'd been in business 23. He said it's been 26 years since he passed, and that's more than 23." And I just had never looked at it that way.
Right.
And, for that, I do feel that, is a challenge that, not that I've overcome it, but maybe overcoming it, because there were so many people that didn't want or said that I would never be successful and be able to make it. So, when I see those people or know that other people that were in our industry that maybe didn't fare too well and are no longer, in the position that I'm in, or just had a lot to say and not very supportive, when I know that the amount of time that he spent with them to help them in their business and develop themselves, which took away from, his family.
Yes.
That brings me, not trying to be, negative, but it brings me a good feeling that they did, I know my parents did what they needed to do in raising me, but at the same time, I don't take it lightly at all, the opportunity that I have to continue to represent them and try to expand their legacies.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. You kind of have to brush the haters off just a little bit.
You do, and it's unfortunate because there's always those that don't want to see you succeed, and that's where you really have to focus and making sure that you're surrounding yourself, by those people that are in your corner.
Okay.
And they may look like you and they may not look like you, but there can be allies in all shapes, sizes, and colors.
Yes.
And there's also enemies in the same. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, again, this has been a great learning experience for me.
I've enjoyed it.
I am so happy that you came. I feel like you have always just been accessible to me. You were a part of our Dreamers Gala. Mm-hmm. We celebrated you as a legacy of a company who would continue on. And I mainly did that because my children aren't interested in what I do. My daughter, she proudly says, "That's your dream."
And that's
mine.
fair.
And
that's fair.
it is very fair.
Right.
And I don't impose the coffee house.
Because you never know. Things could change as they get older.
Absolutely.
It could go 180 or it could go 360 and she's still not interested. So,
yes. And every now and again, I'll say something or she'll be here and she'll come and help because she likes to show people that I can. I just don't.
Right. Right.
and
there's nothing wrong with
cool
that.
too.
Mm-hmm.
So, but just to, again, have an ear
always
at times, I just appreciate that during the year. So thank you again.
You're welcome.
And thank you for being here and sharing your story because I'm sure someone's going to get something useful out of it.
I hope so. I mean, I always get something out of any time you have the opportunity to speak. And again, just don't take that for granted. And it's sometimes good just to have a pause moment and reflect.
Yes.
So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Look. Me, y'all. So, as you guys are tuning in, I hope that you all have taken time out to subscribe to the Broken Entrepreneur podcast because it is the subscribers that know when we have new episodes coming, and it is the subscribers that help us grow what we're doing here. So again, thank you so much. And we want you to know that your solution is out there. Don't give up. Continue to forge forward. You don't want to be 3 inches away from your goal and give up, okay? So until next time, stay perky, keep brewing up good vibes, and stay right here with us.
Peace.